I mean, I could go in and start a painting business and it would absolutely crush. Why? Not because I know a dang thing about painting, but I know all the things about business and I'd be able to fill in the different pieces. So what I'm sharing is like the more important element is to understand all these key business factors. And if you do that, it doesn't matter how good you are, what your experience is from a painting standpoint. Yes, you'll be able to speak the language definitely better. Yes, you'll be able to know some of the nuances and ins and outs, but you'll really not get ahead if you don't fill in your business acumen.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. What's up, everybody? Mike Hickman here, founder of paintergrowth.com, and you're listening to another episode of the Painter Growth Podcast. And today, I have something a little bit different for you. Someone that you probably haven't heard of, but who I've been working with for about a year now, actually. And his name's Austin Netzley. He owns a company called 2x.co. And he is the owner of the company that I use for business coaching. So if you want to get an inside look on how I look at coaching and the type of resources I get access to, you're in the right spot. So what's up, Austin?
What is up, Mike? Love that you started a podcast. Love what you're doing to serve painters or painting businesses all across the U.S. and globe. And love to see if we can get some good value today, my man.
Absolutely. I mean, I do not doubt that we'll be able to get some good value here. It's such a different, like what I find is most tradespeople, some of them might look for coaching. Most of them don't. But you're in a little bit of a different space because you're working with, a lot of times 6, 7, and sometimes 8-figure businesses, entrepreneurs who maybe they never really were an owner operator at one point. So what types of pros and cons do you see from someone coming in from the business side versus someone coming in from the trades or tool side?
Well, the thing is, I think we have to understand it all. But what they don't teach you when you're starting out from the trade side is they don't teach you the business stuff, and you have to learn that. You have to start to wear all the hats, and it's a lot, right? And you can be really good at what you do, but if you don't understand all the areas of business, then you could have some major holes. You could be working really hard, but not making nearly as much money as you probably could. So that's the really hard part, is like you've got to fill in all the gaps, because if you're really good at getting clients and serving clients and doing the delivery, but you don't know anything about cash and financials, then again, you're going to be finding yourself in a pretty tough spot. Or if you're really good at all the things, but you're not good at sales and marketing, again, you're going to be in a really tough spot. So that's the hard part, is to transition to wear all the hats enough in such a way that you can at least fill the buckets, and eventually do that through other people. But at the beginning, you're really trying to do that through yourself. But it's a lot to learn, and which is why most businesses fail.
So it sounds like growing a business isn't necessarily about getting more leads and sales. It's really about becoming a more organized and higher level person as the owner, and then leads and sales will follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could go in and start a painting business and it would absolutely crush. Why? Not because I know a dang thing about painting, but I know all the things about business and I'd be able to fill in the different pieces. So what I'm sharing is like the more important element is to understand all these key business factors. And if you do that, it doesn't matter how good you are, what your experience is from a painting standpoint. Yes, you'll be able to speak the language definitely better. Yes, you'll be able to know some of the nuances and ins and outs, but you'll really not get ahead if you don't fill in your business acumen, which is a lot of what we share.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that you are really good at that I've started to emulate and use some of the frameworks that you have already is frameworks, is using the concept of a framework to guide decision making and actions. So one of the frameworks that I really appreciate, and I actually use now with my clients, is do the thing, get the result, and systematize. Yep. So can you just talk a little bit about that and what that means and why that's important?
Yep. We call that doctors, DRS. Do the thing, that's the D. Get the result, that's the R. And then systemize and scale it from there. So oftentimes, we're trying to grow something that we haven't really validated just yet. And as a result, we're wasting a lot of money, we're wasting a lot of work, or we try to offload something that we haven't really proven ourselves first. So we're setting our team up for success or to fail. And then ultimately they do fail. And then we just take it back on, and then we're frustrated, your team's frustrated, and nobody wins. So what we need to do is take things in a very strategic order so that you're setting yourself and your team up for success as you move things to the next level. So doctors, do the thing, get the result, then systemize and scale. But also I'll touch on the importance of frameworks, the importance of acronyms, the importance of visuals, right? Because there's so many moving pieces at any time in a small business. There's all these things to do. The biggest thing that we need to understand is where our time and energy and attention needs to go, and work on the right things in the right order. Because I can guarantee you, every single person listening to this has a lot of things that are waste. You and I, Mike, have a lot of waste in our business as well. So it's our job to figure out, where is that waste? Where are we working on either the wrong things, or the right things but out of order? That there would be a much easier path if we did that, the right things in the right order, because at any given time, there's only one thing in front of you. Like, you can't be working on multiple things. Even though we think that we can multitask, we can't. So we've got to have these frameworks in different ways to make decision, to get focused, to make things simpler, and most importantly, to set us and our team up for success. So doctors is one of those important ones that's really easy to remember, easy to teach your team about, but it's also about getting hands-on and doing the thing and working until there's something good there. Then think, how can I systemize and scale it from there? But don't try to systemize or scale things that aren't really validated first.
That's such a good lesson. And I mean, even in my own business, I'll fall into this occasionally, but I really try to always fall back on doctors. If you're trying a new marketing initiative, or you're trying to set up, like, door-to-door marketers or telemarketing, or something that might be uncomfortable to do, it's easy to say, hey, I'm going to hire someone and hopefully they can figure it out. But if you haven't proven it first, if you haven't had success at it yourself, then you're literally just setting them up for failure.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't have to do everything yourself necessarily. Eventually, you'll have other people doing it, but it's really important to understand, hey, we got to get hands-on. We got to get nitty-gritty. We got to figure this thing out, because we can't just like plug and play certain things and just them be magic. Otherwise, everybody would be successful. Everybody would be rich, right? Now, think about, hey, how can I get my hands on and really validate this and work through some of the things with the intention to then go and systemize and scale it from there. And if you do that, you're going to be getting ahead. And one thing that we're talking about, Mike, that I think is really important to touch on is systems and the power of systems. I feel like you've done an incredible job from a system standpoint. I think most people don't do that, but that is true when you start to bring in true leverage into your business.
So that's a super valuable framework. I guess a first framework that people should get started with. Now, what other frameworks do you follow that you think would be particularly relevant or important to a painting contractor?
I mean, there's so many. We've got frameworks for everything in every part of business. But the first one that I'll start with is going back to, there's a very particular order in general that you should approach your business. There's a very important order that you should approach each part of your business. So for instance, the business overall, what we say it starts with is, it all begins with the vision. What do you want to achieve? What are your goals? What is success? Because oftentimes we're working our butts off, but if we're not really clear and intentional with what we're trying to create, then we're working on things that aren't ultimately getting us to quote unquote success, whatever that is for us. So I want everybody to think about, what's their dream life? What's their dream situation? How much money do they want to make? How much time do they want to be spending? What's important to them outside of their work and business? What's important to them in their business? And really, the more you can get clear on that, the more that we can design the strategy and model to get up to achieve that, right? But again, we're so oftentimes working really hard, but not clear on where we're going. But you don't get into the car until you know where you're going. So we gotta first and foremost know where we want to take the business. So that's the first thing. It starts with the vision. And then from there, as I mentioned, we need to have the strategy and model that's set up to scale, that's set up to get you there in the simplest and most direct manner. What's the easiest path to achieve your vision, and being really strategic and intentional, having the right strategy for your business overall, and the channels that you focus on, and the model that you have, and how you price, and what areas you serve, and how you serve them, like all the different things are related to your strategy and model. That is the 80-20 of growth. If you spend a lot of time on that and are really strategic, then you're going to save so much heartache and hard work down the line. So it starts with strategy. Then it goes into operational excellence. We call it machine, which is, do you have the proper systems, numbers, and team in place so that things are consistent and predictable and scalable? Most people do not have operational excellence. So without operational excellence, things are chaotic, they're reactive, they're dependent on you. You can't take time off. lots of things fall through the cracks. You're not nearly as profitable or consistent. Your clients don't have a great experience. You don't have consistent leads. Like all the things are much more chaotic. So operational excellence is number two. And then number three then you can scale it. Then you can add on growth levers. Then you can crank up ads. Then you can really do other things to accelerate it. So oftentimes we're going to growth first, when in fact it goes back to the base. First, understanding the vision of where we want to go, then the three-step process, having the proper strategy and model, building operational excellence with the machine, and then scaling up with consistency and control from there. If you follow that process, you get way more traction, are way more profitable, are way less overwhelmed, and get to the point of a very successful business without so much reliance on you. And that's the same process that you followed, Mike, as well.
It is. It is. So let's break that down. I think we can probably spend a little bit of time here. So vision, strategy, operational machine, and then scale.
Yep.
So let's start with the vision. How far out should guys be thinking? Like, is this a 10-year vision? Is it 5 years? Is it like, what does a vision look like, and how far out should we be thinking?
Vision is multifaceted. So it's everything from where you want to be well into the future. What's your dream look like, maybe even 10 years from now? But we're not getting really granular on that. A lot of people live in the clouds and they're talking about the yacht that they're going to have and all these different things. Like, let's at least have an idea of what the important things are from a family standpoint, from a time standpoint. Do you want to retire in 10 years? Do you want to whatever, like any big high level things from a 10-year standpoint? But then most importantly, start to bring it back to 3 years. 3 years is where you should have a pretty solid picture of where you want to be. What do you want your business and life to look like? Because that's really what we need to be working on in some aspects this quarter. So every single quarter, you should spend a portion of your time focusing on just short-term leads and sales. You should be spending a portion of your time on medium term, which is like what's going to be setting you up 3 months from now, 6 months from now, up to 12 months from now. And you should be spending a portion of your time doing things that you will not feel the impacts on very much until over a year later, right? So those are things that are going to ultimately get you to that vision. But everybody's really focused just on that short-term hustle of what's happening this week and this month, and you're just scraping and clawing to get by from paycheck to paycheck. That is not a way to get ahead. So you want to have that 3-year vision so that you can work back and think, hey, what can I spend my time on this month and this quarter that's going to help get me there to that long-term success? That's things related to systems, related to hiring people, related to things that are, again, you're not going to necessarily feel the impacts of right away, that are going to set you up for that future success. And then from there, bring it back to your annual goals, and then bring it back to quarterly goals, and get really clear on a quarter what you're going to be focusing on, what different areas of your business you're going to be improving, and then bring it back to kind of a weekly cadence and a monthly cadence of reviewing the financials, reviewing the numbers. So it really starts with that general picture of 10 years, that more detailed picture of 3 years, then bringing it back to 12-month goals, and then down into the 90-day, monthly, and weekly. And all that is all connected, right? And most people don't have that. And it sounds overwhelming and it's a lot, but as soon as you do that and get that set up, the next time you go and review that again every 90 days, it's a little bit more clear and it's a little bit simpler, and it doesn't take nearly as much time, and you're just refining. But then that way, every single quarter, you're making big strides towards the life and the success and the business that you ultimately want by using that vision as a guide.
So definitely it's a lot to go through there, right? So having a 10-year kind of like grand scheme of your life, then 3 years, like a more concrete idea of where you want your business to be in 3 years. So if you're a contractor and you're doing, $500K a year right now, 3 years, you might want to do, be doing 2 million a year, right? Or at like 160K run rate or something like that. And then from there, where do you need to be in 1 year? So maybe in 1 year, you need to be at a, $100,000 per month on average. And then on quarterly, what are the growth targets that you need to hit every quarter to maximize your chances of hitting that 1 year goal? So I think that one thing that is a little bit missing here in your description is accountability metrics. So in a painting business, it's very similar to any other business, but we separate the departments into sales, marketing, production, and admin. So what are some numbers that you would recommend tracking on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis in, let's start with sales and marketing in order to have a better idea of where we're at?
Yeah, you're hitting it nail on the head. So we want those financial goals, and then we bring that back to a quarterly and start to map out, hey, what does each quarter need to look like? And then from there, we break it down to, we call it the success formula. It's like, what are the key numbers for marketing, sales, fulfillment, and ultimately finance that then lead to those revenue and profit numbers that we're ultimately producing. Those are results. Those are outputs. So what are the leading metrics, the leading indicators that we can start to track, that we know if we hit those are going to lead to, again, the revenue growth and profits that we want to produce. So what we have everybody do is identify what's 1 to 3 of your top marketing metrics. All right. What's 1 to 3 of your top sales metrics? What's 1 to 3 of your top fulfillment and delivery metrics? And 1 to 3 of your top admin or operations metrics as well. And if we break all those down, then you track those on a weekly basis, then you'll be seeing the trend of how are things going. You can know exactly where to focus and what to fix. You can help get your team clear and aligned on any different things that they're responsible for and helping drive. And you can better guide and lead your team. And you can definitely make better decisions. So the numbers on a weekly basis are absolutely essential. So for every business, they're a little bit different. You would know the painting business a little bit better than me. But again, think about the top 1 to 3 marketing metrics. So it could be something related to appointments booked with your sales team. And then the sales team, is related to how many in-person appointments or how many closes that they have from there, how many sign up, whatever the key metrics are. The key thing is keep it really simple, track it weekly, make it a part of what you do and your team does, and it'll make your life as a business owner so much easier to make better and faster decisions.
I mean, the numbers that we track are pretty much the same as, you would track. We track number of leads, your lead slippage rate to appointments. We call them
Yep.
estimates. So how many estimates you're doing, and then the sales rep or business owner's close rate on how
Yep.
many of those estimates turn into actual jobs. And then instead of like average ticket size, we say average job size. So
Yep.
how much revenue are we generating on average per estimate? For every one estimate. And then you can even track, basically, all the way back to what your value per lead is. Like, how much revenue do you book on average per lead that you generate based on
Yep.
your metrics?
Yep.
But it's important to know your metrics first.
Yep.
So
And Robert Kiyosaki says the faster that you want to get rich, the more accurate with your numbers you must be. And most business owners, and especially contractors, are too busy to be managing the numbers. That if you can help people do that, it's one of the single most important things that they can do, because it leads to everything and helps you know exactly where to focus.
that's huge. Yeah, that is absolutely huge. You have to know your numbers. So what would you say to someone who is, they're in their business, they're working 60 hours a week. They might not be painting, but they're doing, job site management and marketing
Yep.
and sales and admin and all this stuff.
Yep.
How do you get the time, or what are some tricks that you've seen busy people like that do to fill out spreadsheets on a
Yep.
regular basis?
Yep. A couple things. Number one, I don't fill out any spreadsheets. I review spreadsheets. We have a virtual assistant, and you can get assistants in different parts of the world and different parts of even your local area for a fairly low cost. Definitely something that's below what you would consider your hourly rate, right? So get some help. Get some help on your team. Definitely related to the admin things. So I would say that's one. Number two is evaluate in detail where all your time and energy is going. We have every single one of our clients list out everything in granular detail of where their time and energy is going. Once you do that, you'll be able to more clearly see what you shouldn't be doing, what you can offload to somebody else, what things that you can systemize. We call it our XDS process that I break down, which X is cut, D is delegate, S is systemize. Once you really review things in detail, you'll be able to see, hey, at least 40%, maybe even 80%. We've even had some clients have 95% of what they have that they listed out, that they know that they can either cut, delegate, or systemize and free up time. And you can do the same. So it starts with really being granular, being ruthless to start to protect your time by evaluating it in detail. So I recommend everybody write it down, and we can go into that process in more detail if you want. The second tip that I would share is before you get into the reactivity, before you start to go to the job sites, before you handle the fires that pop up, before you check your emails, before you check social media, anything, if you can, before you get into the reactive part of your day, do at least 1 hour. We recommend always at least 2 hours of deep and focused work on either growing your business or working on some important initiatives that are going to set your future self up for success. But at least 2 hours every single day. If you do that, then every single day you're getting better. Every single day you're moving your business forward. Every single day you're setting your future self up for success. Now, after that point in time, go in and work on the fires, work on the client stuff, work with your team, do whatever. But if you can every single day, at least a few days a week, but we again like it every single day, move your business forward. That has you have less stress, way more productivity in getting things done, and you start to feel the impact of the actions that you're taking very shortly after.
It's huge. Yeah, priority management is everything. That's one of the first activities that we have our clients do. We don't call it the XDS, we call it the D sheet, do, dump, and do, dump, or delegate. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
basically like an exercise, help you see what you're doing every single day, every week to the 15-minute increment.
Yep.
Should you be doing it? And then what should you delegate to your team? What should you just
Yep.
stop doing altogether? And what should you still doing? Because what should you still do? Because there are still things that you should do as the business owner that
Yep.
need to be done by you, at least at your current stage in business. But
Yep.
definitely doesn't
Definitely.
always have to be that way.
Definitely.
So the one other thing that you mentioned that I want to dig into a little bit is getting some administrative help.
Mm.
Right. So I know firsthand you can get, a great, extremely qualified virtual assistant or admin from the Philippines or South America for about $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what is your process for finding a qualified virtual? I don't call them virtual assistants. I just call them like they're part of my team. Like they'll be an
Yeah.
administrative manager or something like that. But an overseas employee, how do you find your overseas team, or how did you when you were still more involved in recruiting?
Yeah. The first thing is for any hiring is you want to get really, really clear on what they're going to be doing. So if you just say, oh, I need an admin to handle paperwork, that's not detailed enough. Get really granular on all the things that they would be doing, because the more clear that you are, the more clear that you can communicate to that somebody to see if they're a good fit, the more clear that you know what skills you need from somebody, what background and experiences, if any, that you need. So that's the first thing is job description in detail. And we put it on what we call a job scorecard. So that's the first thing, to define exactly what is needed, what is success, what is their role. The second is then to go out and recruit and find that person. There's a lot of different platforms out there. Upwork is a great one if you're looking for somebody part-time. Even if you want to hire somebody full-time, I've heard of people, testing them from a part-time standpoint through Upwork and then taking it off that. That's not up to Upwork's policies, but I know people have done that. But what we do is we go to onlinejobs.ph. We have about 4 or 5 people on our team from the Philippines. I know you love South America. We like onlinejobs.ph. It's a Philippines website where you can post different, mostly admin related jobs, but there's also graphic designers and video editors and other more particular things there that you can get. But we love the general assistants, virtual assistants, different roles related to admin that we can hire there. What we do is then we work them through a questionnaire, then a couple tests that they do that will take them 20 to 30 minutes to do. Then we have 2 interviews. Then if they pass all that, then they are brought on for a trial period. And then we do a paid trial period. So there's a lot. So let me recap that. We have them fill in a short little survey. Then we have them
Is that just like general job experience, contact info?
Exactly.
Okay.
Some of the basic stuff. We also do, like, interrelated to that, we have them fill in a couple personality tests because we
Like
want to
a
make sure that they're
a
pretty
disc or something
attentional.
like that?
We have them do, um, I forget what it
Like
is, but
Enneagram, disc,
I think
Myers-Briggs.
I forget. I'm not sure exactly which
Yeah.
ones we have them do now. I think that DISC is in there. I think later for different roles we have them do Colby, but not for an assistant role. We definitely have them do Myers Briggs and probably Enneagram. So at least 2 of those. So we have them fill in a short little survey. Then we have them do 3 different test tasks. So we want to see that different ways that their mind works. One of them will be something written, so that we can see their spelling and their paragraphs and their professionalism there. We want to see something from a spreadsheet standpoint and their attention to detail. We want to see them, be able to problem solve, or like what the reasoning would be. Depends on the specific functions, but we want to give them different tasks so we can see how they really do. Now, people can fill in information and look amazing, but when they do the test task, that's when you really start to differentiate. So we go from, let's say 50 applicants to probably 10 that are potentially a good fit at this point. Then we're doing 2 interviews, a quick interview with one of our basically our lead assistant, and then a second one with the hiring manager, whoever that is. And then from there, we go from 10 down to usually 1 or 2 people. Then we do a paid trial period. For assistants, it's usually 7 days. Sometimes we'll do 14 days. Most roles, we do 14 days. But that way we can really see. And you'd be amazed. So they've worked through this whole process, right? We've worked through a couple interviews. Still, at that point in time, you'd be amazed at how clear it is in the trial period if somebody's going to be a really good fit for you and your team in the role, or if they're not. And about 50% of the time, they don't pass the trial period. But what that does is that gives us a clear out as a business owner to say, hey, it's not a good fit, because you really want the right people that are going to be on your team for a long time, not just for a few months. And that's a heavy turnover role. But if you do it right, you can have somebody on your team for years. My number 1 assistant that I hired 9 years ago when I got started, she's still with us today. Our other 3 people have been with me on average for over 4 years, right? So you want to really do it right so that you have people for the long term.
Yeah, that's huge. So one thing I'm hearing, and I think a lot of people are thinking as you go through this, you're like, wow, okay, questionnaire, test, 2 interviews, test tasks, spreadsheets, job scorecards, getting clear on their activities.
Yeah.
This is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. But you know what's even more work is A, keep doing things all yourself, or B, not doing this work and then hiring the wrong people, which cost you a lot of money, cost you a lot of heartache, hurt your reputation, hurt your other team members that you do have, right? So you can either hope to find a unicorn that is just absolutely crushes it and you don't have to pay them much and yada, yada, or you can be smarter about it and build for the future. So Mike, you know this, man. Once you go through the first time of doing all this, it's a lot. But the cool thing is, once you have some of this underway, it's much easier to do the next time. It's much easier to do the next time after that. So now we can go and hire for our particular role, and I could spend literally less than 30 minutes total, including an interview, and be really, really confident that we're making the right decision, right? That doesn't happen initially, but that happens over time. So again, it goes back to the point of shifting your mindset to build for the long term. Okay, hey, I want to get here to a $2 million business. I want to be working 25 hours a week. I want to be, picking my kids up from school every single day. What's needed to get there? All right, well, I'm going to need this type of person. I'm going to need this type of person. Like, how can I find those people that are on my team for a long time that I can fully trust, that we've got the operations in place? All right, I'm going to take this really serious and take 3 months to go and hire that role or whatever it is, instead of just hire the next person that you talk to and trust your gut and hope it works out, which it most of the time doesn't, right? So it's a mindset shift. It is more work, and it's worth it 100 times over.
Yeah, one thing that I've struggled with a lot that I'm getting better at is doing something myself because it's just easy for me to do, right? And I've
Yep.
said this a million times and I'll keep saying it, but your ability to scale your business is limited only by your ability to delegate more and more complex tasks. So as your business grows, tasks get more complicated. They become harder to delegate and easier to say, screw it. I'm just going to keep doing it because it's not that bad. I like setting up jobs. I like running around Paint. I like doing my payroll. I like doing my whatever, right? But if that's taking you a lot of time and taking mental energy away from you, you could be focusing on higher leverage activities like creating dynamic marketing campaigns or training a salesperson or recruiting more sub crews. So how would you recommend someone, become systems oriented?
Well, I think it goes back to the vision conversation that we had. The more that you can see and feel a compelling vision, the more that you're going to be like, well, I don't want to do the admin stuff. I don't want to carry around the paint. I don't want to follow up with the contractors, right? So I think if you create more of a contrast, having this clear destination in mind that's really enticing, that will help force you to stop some of the minutia. The other thing is set a regular cadence. Don't use this podcast as one time. Like, set a regular weekly review of your week to go through your time in detail, because the number one indicator of your future success is how you spend your time. So if you are regularly reviewing your time in detail and every single week getting some things off your plate, every single week creating systems, every single week being more protective of your time, every single week spending more time on higher value things and less time on lower value things, trust me, you're going to be way more successful and you're going to start to have more optionality of what you want to do. Do you want to work less? Do you want to just make a lot more money? Do you want to build your empire? Like you want that optionality. And I think the more that we can reflect and review, the more that we can make the shifts that are needed to continue to up level that. But the cool thing is like, and if you build your business in such a way, like you can spend your time on whatever you want. Like I like writing something, or I like doing some things in my business that are not the highest value things, which is totally cool. I have the freedom and flexibility to be able to do that. And you can do that as well. So it's not about not doing the things that you enjoy, but it's really about making sure that you are conscious of spending your time on the right things and having that freedom and flexibility to spend it on the way in the ways that you want.
I think our whole conversation so far can be kind of dialed down into two things. Three things actually. So number one, have a goal, have a vision, have a goal. Number two, you need to know how you spend your time. And then number three, you need to know your numbers. And I really like that. The faster you want to get rich, the more accurate you have to be with your numbers. That's kind of like the three keys to success in life and business.
Yep, absolutely. And those are three of the top four principles that we talk about. Well, the other one is related to that, which is like everything that you want to achieve, everything that you want to achieve in business is possible on the other side of the machine. What that means is operational excellence is so key to all of this, right? Operational excellence leads to time freedom. It leads to the consistency. It leads to the clarity of where to focus, yada, yada. It leads to the consistent operations throughout, the ability to scale and grow things to the next level. It leads to the team running the show, yada, yada. So that would be the last one that if we summarized it in that, you just summarize so much of what we talk about here at 2X.
So just to recap that, everything you want to achieve in business is on the other side of the machine. What does that mean in a bit more detail?
It means that if you don't have operational excellence, your business is not scalable. It's really reliant on you. And actually, I'll go even further. And related to a book that you've read, you're actually featured in here as somebody who's taken some committed time off. It's called the 2-week vacation test, and it's how to build your business to run and thrive without you. In the book, we talk about if you can't take time off from your business, if you can't take a fully disconnected vacation, that means you don't have a business, you have a job. And a lot of what I talk about, what you talk about specifically for painters, is to build a business in such a way that it's a true business. It's not just you being a contractor, not just a job that you have, that's a self-employed job that you have for yourself. So if you can build your business with operational excellence, with the proper systems, numbers, and team in place so that things can operate without you, that means you have the freedom and flexibility to work on the right things, which are high impact things, and you have the freedom and flexibility to live the lifestyle of why you work so hard for and why you started in business for. So it's really important to take that business owner approach of how we started this conversation, of stop looking at it from a contractor standpoint, start looking at it from a true business owner standpoint. And if you do that, over a period of months and months and months, you start to reap the rewards of that, which is freedom, flexibility, growth, and wealth.
Yeah. So I was going to just get into that, the 2-week vacation test, your new book, something that you practice. You just got back from a 2-week vacation to Greece and London and all this. What are you've done several 2-week vacation tests, but what are some of the consistent themes? Like, what do you keep learning every time that you do a 2-week vacation test?
Every single time you get clarity on some big shifts that need to happen in business or out of business. And I was just talking with one of our clients that just took a 2-week vacation, like literally right before this. And she said, the biggest thing that I learned is the same thing that I learn every single time and that I share, is that the worst thing that you can do is go back to how things were before. So when you take any time off, whether it's a weekend off, whether it's 4 days off, it's 7 days off, 14 days, whatever, whenever you take time off, you're going to detach yourself. You're going to have some good clarity. The worst thing that you could do is go back to the busyness and the chaos and just how things were before. Use any committed time off and the clarity that you have to make a few tweaks, make a few changes. And if you can take a vacation, get some good clarity, have some good ideas of, again, how you can improve your time in the future, and you just make 2 or 3 substantial actions based on that, you're going to up level your time, up level your business in a big way. So that's the biggest thing is don't go back to how things were before. Identify a couple shifts. Don't try to do 17 different things. No, make a few substantial shifts, make those permanent so that every single time you go on vacation is just like every single quarter. You're getting better and better and better and better. And it makes it easier and easier and easier to take even more time off.
Yeah, that's really what I learned. I didn't take a 2 week. I think I took a 9 or 10 day vacation
Yep.
back in May.
Yep.
And what I learned more than anything is like you can't just do it without prep. So I prepped for it. I like worked really hard to make sure that I was out of as many of the operational day-to-day things as possible. And then once I left, I deleted email from my phone. We use Slack, so I deleted Slack from my phone. I gave my cell phone number to my sales manager and our head coach. I said, you guys can text me in an emergency.
Yep.
And I didn't get a text, which was really good. Came back, business was fine. Made a bunch of sales, marketing did great, customer success was handled wonderfully. But I learned like 3 or 4 things. I was like, dang, this could be a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the perfect thing that needs to happen, because guess what? The next time you take a 9-day vacation, it's going to be substantially better. And the next time after that, it's going to be substantially better. So one of my buddies, he has a very, very successful 8-figure business, just took a couple weeks off for the first time that he's ever done that. And he came back and he was expecting things to be flying. And he was like, wait a minute, we've got issues. And I'm like, yes, that's a great thing to find out, because those issues were always there. They're just exposed to now that you weren't there to button them up, right? Which is a beautiful thing, that now you can more clearly understand them and address them and button them up, that now your next vacation, you're going to be substantially better. So I think it's good news that you identify some issues. Like, don't be afraid of that. And you don't want to go from zero. Like you said, you built up towards that. You were ready. You were doing the prep in the proper steps. And that's what the book's about, is like 7 steps to lead you to that 7th step, which is a 2-week vacation. That's not where you start.
Yeah,
You
because
start by just taking a 9 off.
you start on like keep it super easy. Like turn your phone off from 5 p.m. for a couple of nights. Right.
Tonight,
like that's step 1.
everybody listening to this podcast, do not work at all. Do not check your email. Do not check your social media. Do not plan work. Do not think about work. Just be present with yourself, with your family, with your spouse, with your partner. That's the first step, is can we turn it off? Then after a couple steps like that, then we're seeing, can we do deep and focused work, which is, I mentioned, the 2 hours in the morning. Those are 2 muscles that we need to rebuild. There's so many moving pieces in a small business that we need to be able to turn things off, and we need to be able to do deep and focused work. If you can do those 2 things, it's easy for Mike or I to tell you what to do to take your business to the next level. But those 2 things are what most entrepreneurs can't do. And as a result, we're overwhelmed, we're stressed, and we're working hard, but not on the right things.
So what, like step 1 is, turn your phone off at night. Step 2, I think, is take a weekend off.
Yep. It goes from evening off 100% to weekend off 100%. So that's step 2. Step 3 then is doing what we call done by 10:30, which is a deep work morning routine where you're at least working 2 hours on the business, on the most important things. Step 4 then is doing a full day where you have no meetings and no team interaction, so that you can work on a really important project. Like, imagine if you spent a full day to totally refine your brand and your marketing strategy and whatever else, right? Like, you just spent a full day. That would be worth tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to you. But oftentimes we're just keep pushing these things behind to just like scrape and claw to get one more client or one more sale or one more whatever, right? So doing a full deep work day, and that's also the first time that your team has to operate without you, right? Which is a beautiful thing, to have them to stop coming to you for every fire, for every need. But we don't know it, but we're oftentimes training our team to come to us, because when they come to us, guess what we do? We fix it, we solve it, we take care of it, and we're handling everybody else's problems as well as our own, right?
Yeah.
We can't do that if we want to get to the next level. We have to start to train people to think for themselves, to bring us solutions, not problems, and ultimately they'll have more autonomy and way more confidence as they work.
Maybe you've heard this before, but if not, you can use it. So a friend of mine who runs John Evans, he did a podcast with us. He scaled a company called Everline Coatings to almost 100 franchise locations.
Wow.
And one of his big things when it comes to delegation and helping people like develop, like your team develop, he says some fires just need to burn.
Wow, I love that.
Right? It's just like you have to let your team learn. Like, another big name in our industry, Nick Slavik, he likes to say there are no paint emergencies,
Mm,
right?
mm,
There's nothing that important that requires you to be there immediately. And then when big fires do occur, other than like a house fire,
yeah,
when big
yeah,
fires do happen, use that as an opportunity to build a system around it.
yeah, yep, absolutely.
So what do you think the value is of having a coach to help this? Can someone even accomplish this and become an 8-figure business without a coach? Or like, do you think
Um,
that's a necessary part of the path?
You totally can, but there's also a much shorter path, which is to learn from the experience and skills of others, but also really, really important. We need somebody else to keep us out of our own way. We need somebody that can help develop us because your business will never far exceed where you are at as the leader. So you always got to be transforming and developing yourself. We need somebody to hold us accountable as an entrepreneur, as being self-employed, as a contractor. Oftentimes you don't have that. Yes, you have that from your clients when they pay you to do a thing, but they're not helping from a business standpoint at all, right? So you need those things. You need a better strategy. You need to simplify. You need to get out of your own way. You need to develop yourself. You need some accountability. So if you can figure out a way to do those without a coach, do it. But everybody should have, like any important area of your life, you should have a coach, not just business. And business is the one that leads into so much of your wealth and your well-being and your family's a situation that I would definitely say have a business coach, but also consider having a health coach for a portion of the year. Have a relationship coach for a portion of the year, right? You could read books, you could listen to podcasts, but if you don't get a coach, you're not going to transform nearly as fast as possible in those areas I just listed.
Yeah. So like it can be done. Absolutely. Like people can get jacked on their own. People can get
Yeah.
healthy on their own. People can build businesses on their own.
Yeah.
But to follow a proven path, it's just going to
Yeah.
happen that much sooner.
Ask anybody that's 5 times bigger than where you're at right now. Like anybody. Everybody's at different levels. So ask anybody that's 5. Ask them if they had coaches. Ask them if they've had hands-on mentors because you can have people that are hands-off. I like the hands-on stuff because you need some nitty-gritty answers. You need some gritty solutions and people to help you. And again, that accountability goes a long way. So depending on your goals and dreams, if you want to save years of time, figure out a coach, hire Mike.
Thanks. Yeah, hopefully people get some value out of this.
Yeah.
So you have this book that I think painting contractors should definitely read if they want to get their business to a point where they can take a 2-week vacation. What's their best chance of getting their hands on one of your books?
I've got 2 books. One's called From Six to Seven Figures. One's called The 2-Week Vacation Test. Both are, I think, really solid books, if I don't say so myself. And the reason why is they're simple, right? They're very step by step. They're very simple. They're very visual. Like if you look at the book, if you're watching the video, like there's summaries, there's tables, there's charts, there's templates, there's big text. There's step by step. There's tools that go along with it. Like my goal is to make it easy to actually implement because it's one thing to learn things, it's another to implement. So I really recommend both books, The 2-Week Vacation Test and From Six to Seven Figures. They're on Amazon. I would check them out there. They both got over 100 5-star reviews. And we also have them on our website, 2x.co. So you can check them out there. We give a digital copy away for free. So you can see that there. But check them out. I just want people to read them because there's so much value in them. And so much of what you talk about, Mike, is very much related to, obviously, the same principles that we talk about. So if people can get a better grasp on their business and time, they're going to lead to a lot more success both in and out of business. And that makes me happy. So check them out, the 2-Week Vacation Test and From Six to Seven Figures.
Nice. I want to end on one more topic
Mhm.
that I just want to dive into for a minute that a lot of people experience, but I want just to hear your kind of thoughts on it, and that's burnout.
Mm,
So if someone has been in their business for a year or 5 years or 10 years and they're just not seeing that growth, they're getting burnt out,
yeah.
they're just tired, they've fallen out of love with their businesses. What's the prescription?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is to be in control of your time from the start. No matter where you're at right now, whether you're at burnout, whether you have never had burnout, whether you've had burnout before and you're okay right now, um, start to take control of your time. Be ahead of that because you can start the steps that we just talked about earlier with the 2-week vacation test process. You start that right away. That's one of the biggest things. The second is always be looking at what can you simplify. All right, we work with successful 6 and 7 figure businesses all over the globe. And every single time we go into a business, we see 20% at the minimum. Usually it's about 40 to 60% of what they're spending their time, energy, effort, resources on are a waste, or they're not really impactful, or they're not helping them achieve their vision. So if you can just simply cut things out and reduce the number of things going on in your life and business, like that alone will just take some weight off your shoulders. The next is take your health to the next level. Take your sleep more seriously. Take your diet more seriously. Because as entrepreneurs, like I like to think of us as professional athletes. Treat your body, treat yourself as a professional athlete, because that leads into everything. That leads into the decision making, the happiness, the depression, the energy that you have, and the decisions that you make, everything else. So those are a couple things there. But then the other is like just start to take time off, even if it's just at a night. Being able to actually turn things off will lead to better sleep, better experiences, and connection and happiness outside of business, which makes the business stuff so much easier. Both of these are very much related, right? Like if our outside life business is going really, really well, that makes the business life so much easier, and vice versa, right? So we've got to be able to compartmentalize and do both. And yeah, I can't stress enough taking care of your health. Like when I was in my mid 20s, I had burnout. Was having anxiety attacks because I was so stressed out and overwhelmed. I was really fit, but I had such a bad diet. I was drinking a lot. I was not sleeping. I was stressed. And again, that led to anxiety attacks in such a bad way that I had to call 911, not once, but twice. And then I went on a mission to change that from an operations standpoint, letting go and getting my time back, from business standpoint, from taking care of my health, stopping drinking, surrounding myself with the right people. Like it's a total life transformation that leads to way more happiness, way less stress, and way more success in business. So I shared a lot there, Mike, but I would say take one of those things that I just shared and start small, but ultimately, again, take back control of your time first and foremost.
So you shouldn't get off work and go have 3 beers and a slice of pizza?
Yeah, you should not. You should treat yourself as a professional athlete, and it would change
Yeah.
everything. It changed so much for me personally, and I know it's changed a lot for other people. But it's again just that mindset shift of going pro mentally, thinking as a true business owner and CEO. Just that mindset shift leads into everything.
And also, like, it's a big thing to say, or it's a little thing to say, it's a big thing to do, but becoming more proactive in your business versus reactive, right? If you're
Absolutely.
constantly putting out fires, you're answering the phone, you have no control over your schedule because you're just responding.
Yep.
That's going to be exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a way to kind of address that is what we call the wrap up routine. So every single day, it's just a quick little exercise. Every single day, what we need to do is we need to stop our work, and then we need to transition into our personal life. So a way to do that is have a quick little routine where you reflect on the day. What worked, what didn't, what fires came up, what things can you get off your plate. You plan tomorrow and look at the schedule and everything for tomorrow. And then you have some type of trigger that maybe you go for a walk outside, or maybe you do 25 push-ups, or maybe you change clothes, and you just trigger to your mind that you're going into personal mode. But if you do that every single day, you have more awareness of where your time and energy is going that it shouldn't have. You have more ability to delegate and get things off your plate. You have more a plan for the next day so that you are more proactive. So these things are just these small steps that are leading to less overwhelm, less on your plate, more proactivity as you're talking about, and a lot more success. So try that as well tonight.
Love it. Well, thanks, Austin. Really appreciate having you on, man. I appreciate everything that you and 2X have done for me over the last year. And let's try to up level this whole entrepreneurial game.
Let's go. I love what you're doing, man. Thanks for having me on. And I'm excited to hear people's feedback from the books.
Awesome, man. Thanks again. Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.